The Keibul Lamjao National Park is a national park in the Bishnupur district of the state of Manipur in India. It is 40 square kilometers in area, the only floating park in the world, located in northeast India, and an integral part of Loktak Lake. The national park is characterized by many floating decomposed plant materials locally called fumdis. To preserve the natural refuge of the endangered Manipur Eld's deer, a brow-antlered deer, or sandgai, also called the dancing deer, listed as an endangered species by IUCN. The park, which was initially declared to be a sanctuary in 1966, was subsequently declared to be a national park in 1977 through a Gazette notification. The act has generated local support and public awareness. History. The brow-antlered deer, which was first discovered in Manipur in 1839 and named Service Ld in 1844 in honor of Lt. Percy Eld, a British officer, was reported an extinct species in 1951. It was rediscovered in the Keibul Lamjao Park area by the environmentalist and photographer E.P.A., which necessitated declaring this reserve park area as a national park to protect and conserve the deer now called Eld's deer subspecies. Brow-antlered deer are sandgai in Manipuri language. It has a pride of place in the folklore and culture of the Manipur state and is the state animal of Manipur. From a small herd of 14 deer in 1975, its population was reportedly 155 in 1995. Geography and topography. The park is a swamp established by man Sharma with floating massive vegetation created by accrual of organic garbage and biomass with soil particles that has been thickened into a solid form called fumdis. At the southeastern side of the Loktak Lake, which has been declared a Ramsar site, 2/3 to 3/4 of the total park area is formed by fumdis. A waterway through the park provides year-round access by boats plying through the Loktak Lake to the Pabat Hill in the north. The reserve area of the park, which was 4,000 hectares in March 1997, was reduced to 2,160 hectares in April 1988, under pressure from the local villages. The swamp encompasses 3 hills, namely Pabat Toya and Chingjao, that provide a refuge for the large mammals during the monsoon season. The distinctive nature of the park is that it is too deep to be marsh, too shallow to be a lake. Ownership rights. While the area on the periphery of the park is privately owned, the park itself is predominantly state-owned and the remaining areas are divided between the tribal groups of the Thang, Brel and Maral tribes who claim ownership rights. Hydrologic features. Hydrometeorological feature of the area is marked by the dominance of the Indian tropical monsoon with an average annual rainfall of 1,183 mm, with July and August as the wettest months and February and March as the driest. The size of the park varies with the seasons as it is formed of fumdis. The peripheral areas of the lake are grounded to the bed of the lake during the dry season but get almost substantially submerged for a few days. During the monsoon season, it emerges and floats to the surface fully a few days later, separating from the ground. The depth of the fumdi varies from 1 foot to 4 feet, and during this period the animals in the park move to higher hilly areas. About 20% of its thickness floats on the lake above the surface, which supports the weight of large mammals. Weather temperatures vary from a maximum of 34.4 degrees Celsius in summer to a minimum of 1.7 degrees Celsius in winter. Humidity was a recorded high of 81% in August with a minimum of 49% in March. Flora and fauna. The park, primarily composed of moist semi-evergreen forests, has a rich amalgam of aquatic, wetland and terrestrial ecosystem. The grassland structure of the park is divided into 3 zones. Aquatic flora. Aquatic flora recorded in the park include Caesonia latifolia, Saccharomungia S. bengalensis, Aeranthus procerus, Dioscorea bulbifera, Cynodon dactylon, Alpinia galanga, Eichhornia crassibes, Hedychium coronarium, Nelumbo nucifera and Phragmites carca. Some of the above-listed flora had been recorded in two types of fungus, namely, the Fundiata arbor and the Fundiarapa, reeds, grasses, and other plants growing on a mat of dead and decaying vegetation floating on the lake surface from the Atta arbor, while Fundiarapa has mats of vegetation which have sunk to the bottom of the lake and support a rich emergent growth of reeds and grasses. In a 1960 estimate, the Fundi vegetation had been structured into 45% Phragmites carca, 25% Aeranthus raveni, 15% Saccharomungia, 5% S. latifolium, 5% Alpinia alaufas and 2% Saccharobracearum and 3% other species, including Caesonia latifolia. Caesonia latifolia is the plant much relished by the Sangay deer. Eichhornia crassipes was a recent species in the open water areas of the swamp in the midst of Polygonum and Trapper. The 3 hills surrounding the park are now denuded of most of the vegetation. Fauna apart from the brow antler deer, the Cervus ld, the flagship species of the park. Other fauna found in the park were the following. Mammals reported of the hog deer, wild boar, large Indian civet, common otter, fox, jungle cat, golden cat, bay bamboo rat, musk shrew, common shrew, flying fox and sambar. Fishes include Channa striata, Channa punctatus, Cyprinus carpio, Wallagoa and Puntius sophor. Amphibians and reptiles include the keelback tortoise, viper, crate cobra, water cobra, banded crate, Asian rat snake, python, Russell's viper, checkergarter snake and common lizard. Python malaris, an endangered species, is also found in the park. Avifauna. Prominent bird species recorded in the park are both migratory and resident. Some of them are the eastern Himalayan-pied kingfisher, black-eyed, lesser skylark, northern hill myna, Burmese pied myna, North Indian black drongos, lesser eastern jungle crow, yellow-headed wagtail, spotbill duck, blue-winged teal, ruddy-shelled duck, threatened hooded crane, Burmese saris crane, Indian white-breasted waterhen and crimson-breasted pied woodpecker. Threats. Some of the identified threats to the park are elaborated below. The threats to the park are due to the permanent flooding of the park and its resultant effect on the thickness of fungus. The reason attributed for this is due to construction of the Adai Barrage under the Loktak multi-purpose project in 1983, where high level of water is maintained in 768.5 meters during October to March, the dry months of the year. This has disturbed the natural cycle of floating and sinking of fungus which used to be maintained in the park. Maintenance of high water level in the lake throughout the year for Loktak multi-purpose project has broken this annual cycle, and fungus remain floating throughout the year during dry season and are no more available to fungi vegetation. Therefore, the growth of vegetation on fungus and the thickness believed to be gradually decreasing. Before the construction of the Loktak hydroelectric project, the fungus floated during flooding by backflow from the Kordak River and discharge from other streams and nalas and settled down on lakebed during dry season when water was drawn out through the same river. This resulted in enhancing of nutrients and minerals of the fungi vegetation from the bottom of the lake during the dry period, but this cycle has been disturbed by the Loktak hydroelectric project. One apprehension is that at some stage the fundus may not be able to support the number of the Eld's deer or Sangay deer. The national park and the Loktak Lake have provided sustenance to the people living in the peripheral villages and on the fundus. The effect of maintaining permanently high water level is stated to be a serious threat to the fundus and consequently to the people living on the lake park's natural resources. Earlier, there was only marshy land in the park area, but after commissioning of the hydroelectric project, two ecosystems have emerged, one with water body, covering 1/3 area, and the other the fundus, which covers 2/3 area. Deteriorating water quality is indicated by the recorded pH values of 4 to 8.5. The reasons for poor quality are attributed to flow of air pollutants for the towns draining into the lake, b. use of agrochemicals for farming in the surrounding farmland, c. accumulation of water on fundi, d. deforestation and subsequent soil erosion in the catchment area, and e. rotting vegetation. Conservation measures. Conservation measures suggested relate to development and implementation of a management plan giving priority to long-term conservation, monitoring the condition of habitat, and to take timely corrective measures by enforcing strict protection of core areas, particularly with reference to the water level due to the Loktak hydroelectric power project. Some of the measures suggested and under implementation are elaborated as A. to provide effective protection, b. developing and maintaining high places with adequate protection and food material to provide protection to the animals in case of flash flood, c. increasing area under fundus in the park, d. preventing theft of fundus and flow a part of fundus towards northern side, e. stopping completely the collection of firewood, food and fodder, f. creating an environment in which local people volunteer as natural custodian of sangay and other animals in the park, g. to encourage eco-tourism and nature education, h. to undertake aid, promote and coordinate research works, I. capacity building, training, awareness and extension activities, j. launching packaging and publicity campaign, and j. propagating ethnic information exhibition and so forth. Conservation measures implemented. The measures that have been implemented by the Forest Department of the Manipur government are the following: a perimeter fence of 2,281 meters length in most vulnerable sections of the park to prevent people and domestic livestock from entering the reserve has been created. A cattle-proof trench has been dug along 870 meters of the boundary. 7 canoes and 4 checkpoints are established at strategic places for security. Army helicopter has carried out census work. The park is under the supervision of full-time forest officials. Capacity building has been achieved by exclusive placement of an assistant conservator of forests, an assistant veterinary surgeon, a ranger of forests, field assistant, 3 foresters, 4 forest guards and 8 others for the park. Visitor information. The park is approachable by road, rail and air through Imphal, the capital of Manipur. By road it is 53 kilometers from Imphal and 522 kilometers from Guwahati on the National Highway No. 53. Public and private transport ply on these roads. The nearest railhead is at Dimapur on the broad gauge line of the Northeast Frontier Railways, which is 215 kilometers from Imphal by road. Jiribam is also a railhead on the Manipur border, which is 225 kilometers from Imphal. Daily air service is available to Imphal from major cities such as Calcutta, Delhi, Guwahati and Mumbai. Basic accommodation of a forest rest house without boarding facilities is available at Fubala and Sendra Islands inside the park and at Moirang town 10 kilometers away from the park. Staying at Imphal, which has better hotel facilities, is a preferred option. Visit to the park is ideal between 0600 and 1000 hours in the morning and 1530 and 1800 hours in the afternoon, when the Sangay deer comes out to feed in herds. A boat trip along the Labyrinth line boat routes passing through colorful water plants would be a good way to see the park. An adventurous trip would be to take a walk through the park, but the Fumdi is not a firm ground. Manipur Tourism Department arranges conducted day tours to the Loktak Lake and the Keibul Lamjao Park. Manipur is considered a sensitive border state. Foreigners entering Manipur must possess a restricted area permit, which can be obtained from the Foreigners Regional Registration Office in the metros, or certain other state government offices. Permits are valid for only 10 days, and visitors must travel only on tours arranged by authorized travel agents in groups of 4. Furthermore, visitors may come to Imphal only by air and are not permitted to travel outside the capital. Restricted area permits for visiting Manipur are also valid for entry to Keibul Lamjao National Park. Gallery.